Hello and welcome to a live Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, and I appreciate you guys who are here today. It's not a regular streaming day. So if you got the announcement on the community page, thank you for being here today on an unusual day for us. I really appreciate it. We had well, first of all, I hope you had a happy 4th of July. We had a weekend. I was on the road with my husband since Wednesday. He had like 7 shows in 5 days. It was great. We had a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of friends, make some new friends, and uh, yeah, I just love getting to go out on the road with him. But it kept us very busy. And then a couple things happened while we were gone. Um, One was that I had an interview that came out with Drew Outstanding, who is an Army vet who was suffered a vaccine injury after getting the COVID vax. And we put that interview out on Thursday, and about 50 minutes in, it abruptly ended. I still don't have clarification on what happened to it, if they purposely ended it or not. I'm not going to make any allegations because I don't know. Um, I'm gonna re-upload it. I'm gonna try and see if I can re-upload it. But I'm putting it on Rumble. Here's what we're doing. Tomorrow, I'm putting the full thing on Rumble. We know it'll go up there fine. And I'm gonna be releasing it at 1:00 tomorrow. And if you appreciated the portion of the interview you got to hear, I would appreciate it if you could share it or send the link to the full thing to anyone who might be interested. Drew is an amazing person who's sharing his story bravely, which, for a couple years now, we haven't been allowed to talk about these things. You haven't been allowed to talk about adverse reactions to the COVID vax. And that was sort of a test for us to see how it would go on YouTube. I'm going to try and just put it on YouTube again tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. I didn't get a strike or anything though. So it might have been a processing error. That's what they told me the problem was last time this happened. It happened one other time. And that was the interview with Brian Grabner. So anyway, I'm putting it up tomorrow. 1:00 Central. That's the interview with Drew Outstanding. There's also a lot of construction still happening at my house. And when we got back yesterday, there was too much going on with contractors for me to do the show. So that's why I rescheduled to today. And like I said, I appreciate you being here. There's still a lot of noise out there. Hopefully only I can hear it. It's only distracting for me, hopefully. And then hopefully you can't hear it. But it looks amazing. I'm so impressed with this crew. They've been doing an amazing job. We have probably another week of construction to go, and they're currently putting in the railings on the porch. And yeah, it's been just yesterday. My husband and I took a look at the house. We went outside just to look at the progress and kind of stand there, taking it all in. And I can't believe what a huge undertaking this has been, and I can't believe how fast they've been moving. And my husband said, I would only be able to do this with you because no one else is crazy enough to do this with me. And I was like, yes, I know. This is kind of crazy what we're doing, renovating this whole place. It's a years long process. We still have a couple years to go, even after the exterior's done. All the rooms inside, like this room that we renovate, it depends on when we have time to do it with our schedules. And so, because we do a lot of the work inside to save money, and with our friend David, who guides us on what to do. And the next room we're going to be trying to tackle is the kitchen, which I'm very excited about. That'll be coming next. So thank you again for being here today. Okay, a couple of announcements. So on July 18th, we're doing our next book club, the Deprogrammed book club. And I already have a lot more responses for this one. This is the third one we're doing since we've been back to doing these. Here, let me share this with you so you can just see what book we're doing. You still have time to get this and read it. I know it's like 10 days, but you've got time. Trust me. We're going to be doing Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. And this is a great bit of history. And it's also, if you like Jordan Peterson, or if you're interested in history, or if you're interested in, I would say Jordan Peterson, because some of the stuff Ben Franklin is writing about is how to grow virtues in yourself, and how it's actually, it was almost like a diary for himself, where he was identifying his vices and then writing about different virtues he wanted to grow in himself. And he was doing a lot of self-reflection and, identifying his ego as being his number one vice. And he has his 13 virtues list in this book. We're doing this on Thursday, July 18th at 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about this book. If you want a link to the private stream, if you want to be a part of it, let me know. Send me an email at deprogrammedpod@gmail.com and just put book club in the subject. I've gotten back to several people. I know there's a few sitting in there I haven't gotten back to yet. I'm going to do that this week. So I'll get you the link. You can come hang out with us, talk about this book. We're going to have a good time. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Mark says it's a very interesting read. It is. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so that's July 18th. And then another announcement for this week is, let's see, let me share this instead. So tomorrow, we're not going to be able to do the Christian panel. We usually do it every other week, every other Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We can't do it tomorrow because I've been asked to speak to my church's youth group at the same time. So I won't be here. And I'm a little nervous about talking to the youth. So say a prayer for me that it goes well. But we won't be doing the Christian panel tomorrow. What we're going to do is we're rescheduling it for next week, for the 17th, Wednesday the 17th at 6 o'clock, which is great because it gives you time to go watch this movie. This is what we're going to be talking about. This is Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. It's in theaters now. I think it was released on July 4th. And this is another film from Angel Studios. And on our Christian panel, we talk about different subjects and culture from a Christian perspective, but we also watch movies that we think we might enjoy, and we review movies, we read books together. So this is this is the movie we're talking about a week from tomorrow. So if you don't want spoilers and you want to come to the Christian panel without spoilers, we're going to be talking about Sound of Hope. Now's your chance to go see it. It'd be a good date night. Everybody makes fun of the way I say youth. You know what this is? The Ute. What's a Ute? You know what this is, Therese? I think this is a South Carolina thing. We tend to drop the TH off of words. That's where I'm originally from, is South Carolina. When we say South Carolina, there's no TH. There might be a slight hint of a T, but there's no TH. Or North Carolina, you just North Carolina, South Carolina. Youth. I guess I don't pronounce the TH. That's not a Texas thing. I think that's a South Carolina thing. Oh, it's from my cousin Vinny also. Okay. Well, also, I think even last time somebody was like, "What are you saying? What is that word?" Hey, Brahma Bull. Brahma's going to be on that panel with us that I mentioned, the Christian panel, next week, the 17th, Wednesday the 17th at 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about the movie Sound of Hope, which is out in theaters. So much of the cultural space online where we are talking about what's happening in the world, a lot of times I'm well aware that we tend to focus on critique and criticism of the dominant ideology and the dominant culture right now in the West, which is woke ideology, my old ideology. And that's necessary. That's very necessary. But I think we should try to have more of a balance and try to also talk about things that we enjoy or might enjoy. So go watch this movie. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Support something that's not woke. See what you think about it. Okay. And then I also wanted to show you this. This is my last announcement before we get into the topic. This is so fun. My husband is his band. If you're a fan of his music, I've played it on the show before. He's Anthony Garcia. You can find him here on YouTube at Anthony Garcia Music. We submitted him for this online contest a while back, and I forgot about it. There's so many of these things, and we also thought it might be a scam. It's some Rolling Stone contest, and so many of these music contests today are not about actual talent. Like, a lot of the submission forms, I'm telling you, as someone who helps them submit for things, a lot of times they don't even ask for a link to your music. This one did, but sometimes they just want to know your name, how many followers you have. They just want influencers who say they're musicians, and the quality of the music, I guess, doesn't matter as much. They're like, but how many influencers do you have? So this is one of these contests, and this one, they did ask for his music, which is a good sign. But there's a lot of these, and we weren't paying attention to it. And so apparently he got selected for the initial group of people, and he is it's called America's top hit maker. It's a Rolling Stone thing, and the winner wins $10,000 to use for their music. And in his case, he would use that for music videos and to help fund part of the next Europe tour that they're doing. This is his band, Los Diablos Tejanos. And anyway, this contest apparently has been, we submitted, forgot about it. People been voting on it since July 1st. So we're like 8 days behind. We didn't pay much attention to it. And so yesterday I was like, hey, look at this thing. You're in 17th and you haven't even talked about it. So we put it out there, and people were you can vote up to once a day for free. It's kind of a popularity thing. But why not try? Instead of turning up our noses, why not try? So we put it out there, and people were voting, and he got up to first place this morning, which was incredible. Now he's back down to third. If you like his music and you want to support, go and vote for him. I'll throw the link in the chat, or maybe one of the mods can grab it. Here it is. I've got it. Top hit maker. So the winner of this contest wins $10,000 for their music, and they also get a spot at the Rolling Stone Future of Music showcase in Austin, which is happening in Austin in March. And actually, that's really kind of cool. So why not try? We're gonna try. It's so funny because I wasn't. Cantor says, "Woot, Anthony." It's funny because we were both kind of like, man, this is just one of these popularity things. Like, who cares? And we weren't paying attention. And then yesterday, as soon as we decided to tell people about it, then I suddenly got real competitive. Then it was like, it went from like not caring to like, oh, we're gonna win this thing, which is ridiculous. Don't don't put too much faith in any online voting thing. Or the election. You know what? I should push this out there by saying, hey, our democracy's at stake. Cast your vote now for Anthony Garcia. Save our democracy. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. If you have a chance to vote, thank you. Gracias. We appreciate every vote. Okay. So let's get started. So today I wanted to talk about the absolute meltdown that has been happening online since the presidential debate, which I covered. Actually, I was on a stream with Brahma Bull on his new channel, which you guys should all go check out, or his new show, which is called The Bullpen. It's a political discussion channel, and so watch the debate live with him, and it was, and Lil Chad, and it was incredible. I'm sure you've seen it covered somewhere, even if you didn't watch it. It's been amazing to watch the meltdown that's happening on the left. There are publications that are staunchly on the left who've been telling us that there's no problem, that Joe Biden is fine, that he's completely competent, even though we've been able to see with our own eyes that that's not the case. And a lot of those publications are now, for the first time, criticizing the way he comported himself, the way he spoke. They're actually saying, yes, he appears to have some cognitive problems. And so there's this sort of war happening on the left with lots of CNN. For the first time, CNN is airing footage of all the times that he couldn't speak and couldn't form a coherent sentence. There, all of these times that they told us previously were deep fakes and that they cheap fakes, they called them, and they weren't real, and he was fine, and they gaslit the American people. Now they're showing all those old clips and saying, oh, look, see, this has been happening for a while. They've switched course. CNN is doing this. It's pretty incredible. Here's the cover of The Economist. I mean, this is just brutal honesty. Look at this. No way to run a country, and it's a walker with the seal of the President of the United States. This is incredible to me to now see this happening. And in a previous episode, I showed you some clips from all the talking heads who have been telling us for years that he's fine. Even the, don't believe your lying eyes, essentially, just gaslighting the American public. Van Jones, Joy Reid, Cenk Unger, I think that's how you say his name, from the Young Turks. Now they're all suddenly saying something needs to be done. This is panic. He is not there. So you've got this going on where part of the left is now saying we have to replace him or we're not going to win. They've also seen the polling. Even the CNN poll, we covered this already, but the CNN poll had Trump winning at 60-something%. That's on CNN after that debate. So they've been freaking out. So you've got these people. And then at the same time, you have other people who are saying on the left, this is all fine. I would vote for, I saw this one yesterday from, I think her name's Anna Navarro, that political operative. She was saying, I would vote for, and she listed off a bunch of ridiculous things. I would vote for Biden, dead or alive, cognitively there or not, over Trump. She said, I would vote for my dog over Trump. I would vote for, she was just naming random things, a popsicle, a soda can. I would vote for all of this over Trump, an inanimate object over Trump. And I don't think that's the when you think it is to say something like that. It shows that you're not a serious person. You're not worth listening to at all. There's nothing you're going to say that's ever going to be grounded in reality if you put something like that out there. And there are lots of Democrats saying things like this in seriousness. I saw Maria Shriver today tweeted, hey, remember guys, it's you're voting for a team. It's not just for Biden, you're voting for a team. And it was a picture of Biden and Kamala and all these other Democrats. And that's some major cope. That's amazing cope if you have to say, yeah, so pretty much he's not there and he's checked out and can't form a sentence or complete a thought. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. We'd vote for a soda can. It doesn't matter who the president is. This is a team. This is the cope. This is the cope. And I saw someone else saying, there's a lot of this going around where they're saying, I would never, I don't want a president who's a felon. It's going to be a lot of that, right? Well, I don't want a president who may not know what day it is, what year it is, or who the president is, which is them. like, what year is it? Who's the president? I don't know. Well, it's you. Welcome. It's you. So these people have reached such a level of absurdity. And I wanted to sort of get in the mind of what they've been thinking, the kind of stuff they're talking about. And so I went to Reddit, like I've been doing occasionally, just to see what they're saying. So we're going to get a peek into the mind of the woke. Now, a lot of the stuff that they're saying is insane. It's insane. But what's remarkable about it is that it's not that it's crazy, because we've seen crazy from the woke left forever. It's that it's so common now. It's that being insane is very common on the left. That this mind virus has progressed to such a degree that you are watching people who purport to be serious commentators saying this stuff. That's where a lot of the masses, the people on Reddit, are getting it. They're getting it from the talking heads. They're getting it from the media. They're getting this insanity. So it's not remarkable to me that it's insane. It's remarkable that there are so many people on the left saying this crazy stuff. So we're going to take a look at some of that, and then I'm going to try and give you some tips on how to talk to people who say this crazy stuff. G-Man, thank you for supporting Deprogrammed. Thanks for the super chat of $5. He says, the Dems have already shown they would vote for an inanimate object by electing John Letterman. Whoa! It's pretty funny. Also true. Also true. They don't care if you're cognitively impaired. They don't care at all. It's not really about selecting someone who's going to be able to fulfill the duties of office and keep us safe and do their job. They don't care about that at all. It's all tribalism. Thank you for that. Thanks for the super chat. Okay. Okay, let's start with one of these crazy ones. First of all, let's just start with this one. There's a great account on Twitter you can follow. It's called Reddit Lies, and they just kind of document a lot of the craziness on Reddit, which is a cesspool of woke leftism, which is communism and fascism. It's got elements of both. They actually, so they said the calls for assassinations got so bad that Reddit mods had to pin this post begging people to stop. And you can see this post here from a mod saying, stop calling for, quote, official acts or any other euphemisms for assassination. Now, they're not saying stop doing that because that's crazy and evil. And maybe we're all communists and fascists. Have we ever thought about that? They're not saying stop doing it because it's wrong. Look at why they're saying to stop doing it. They're saying stop doing it so you don't help the other side win. That's all they care about is the power. That's all they care about. They don't think it's wrong. They all feel this way. There have been so many calls for assassination. I showed some of them previously. There are people, there are politicians who were saying that Biden should take out Trump, but they used the word, eliminate him, assassinate him, should assassinate Trump. They were calling for assassinating Supreme Court justices. And because the talking heads are saying this, the people are saying this, and there were so many people saying this on Reddit that they had to say, hey, stop doing it. Stop calling for official acts or any other euphemisms for assassination. Here's the reason why. Because the opposition's looking for such things to jump on, to make reports to Reddit and to inflame their base. That's why you should stop. Not because we don't agree with it, not because it's wrong and evil, but just because we want to win this election, guys. It's a bad look for us. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Thank you for the super chat, EHEF, for $20. Thanks for supporting Deprogrammed. Says, I can't vote in another country or state's elections. Billions to countries for conflicts that can have massive implications for me. I've never received a ballot from them. Not a citizen equals no vote. What a great point. We send so much money to interfere in the elections in other countries where those citizens have no ability to, they're not voting for what we're doing there. They don't have a vote against it. And by the way, there are lots of people on the left who openly acknowledge and are aware of the fact that we do interfere and we do stage coups in other countries, but then somehow they think we don't do that stuff here. They're like, oh no, we have really safe elections. The deep state would never interfere here. That didn't used to be what the left said. That's just they just change what they say depending on who's in office. Thank you for the super chat, EHEF. Also from EHEF for $10. Thank you. Says, not being a resident of a state and voting for president can even be blocked. Thank you for supporting Deprogrammed. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's put up another one of these. Let's just look at some of the crazy stuff they're saying. And we're going to go through it and try to dissect it. So here's another post. Now there's so many crazy forums there. I just picked one. I have a lot pulled up from this one forum. This one's called Mark My Words, and Mark My Words is just overrun with the woke, and almost every post is insane. So here's one. Mark my words, anti-American settlement will grow if the GOP wins. And I really like that the first comment is, "Do you mean sentiment?" And they still didn't change it. Anti-American settlement. They mean sentiment will grow if the GOP wins. Oh, really? Anti-American sentiment's gonna grow? Keep in mind, one way to think about the woke, and Josh Slocum on Disaffected does a great job of looking at woke ideology through this lens, is to think about them as being sociopaths and narcissists and psychopaths. The ideology absolutely functions like a sociopathic ideology. And the people who are in this woke cult, my old cult that I used to be in, they engage and they behave like sociopaths. And one of the biggest things they do is projection. Psychologically, this makes a lot of sense because they basically, to the people, to the masses who are in the woke movement, they see all of the leaders signaling, gaslighting them and signaling to them that the target, whoever the enemy is, the enemy of the woke, that the target is all the things that they actually are. It's a great defense. It's a great strategy for a narcissist or sociopath to use. So they will say, for example, right now, a lot of them are saying, that Trump, conservatives, the GOP, the Republican Party are all fascists. They've been saying this for years. They're fascists. They're the fascists, but they put that out there, and it's a great strategy because all of the brainwashed masses who are still in that woke cult or in that cult on the left, they go and repeat that stuff without even being able. If you ask them, this is something I sometimes do. Here's a tip. You ask them, what do you mean by fascists, or fascism? Can you explain what you mean in your own words? 9 times out of 10, they can't even give you a definition. They don't even know what it means. They just say, they use circular definitions. And so they don't even know what it means to say that. But because they're all saying it, because this is something that's been implanted with them, where they're like, "Oh, the right wing is fascist." Then when you try and point out, "Hey, don't you think it's kind of fascist, for the government, to tell corporations and companies like Twitter and like Facebook to censor their political opponents?" That's the government giving marching orders to corporations. That's fascism. Don't you think that's kind of fascist? If you read the Twitter files, you can see that the Biden administration, several of the three-letter agencies were meeting regularly with Twitter, and they were advising them on who to ban, what kind of stories to ban, including the Hunter Biden laptop story. That was the government giving marching orders to corporations. That's fascism. ESG scores, that's fascism. That's what's pushing the woke ideology into corporations, because the government was going to give them a better ESG score if they push woke. That's fascism. These people are fascists. We saw it during the COVID years explicitly, when they were opposing individual liberty and individual rights, and they thought they had a right to tell small business owners that they had to close and shutter their stores while the big corporations that they're in bed with stayed open. But mom and pop stores went under. It was the biggest transfer of wealth we've ever seen from the middle class to the elite, to the corporations. I did an interview with Lisa Hanson. This was a couple years ago on my old channel. She was a grandmother who was jailed for choosing to reopen her small coffee shop and to continue operating and to take whatever safety precautions she felt were necessary. They put her in jail for that. That's fascism. These people are fascists, and the way they protect against you accurately pointing it out, the way they brainwash the woke left, is by making the accusation first and making it stick. This is a tactic that sociopaths and narcissists do. They always accuse you of the very thing they're doing. They take their biggest weakness and they project it onto you first before you can point out the weakness. And so then when you pointed out like, hey, you guys are behaving like fascists, the brainwashed masses who are on the left, they can't compute because they know this to be a fact. They think they know this to be a fact that the right are fascist. They don't even know what fascist means. They can't even define it, but they run around yelling it while behaving like fascists. Here, let's read this. If Trump wins this year and starts going full fascist, there it is, full fascist, what's he going to do? Lower your taxes? If Trump wins this year and starts going full fascist, not only will we become a pariah nation like Russia is, but also anti-American sentiment will grow across the world, and they'll soon be treating Americans attempting to immigrate to their countries the same way they're treating Russians immigrating from Russia, or rather other countries will soon not allow Americans to their country because they all share, quote, collective blame for Trump, and they'll deport them back. Okay, so this is one of their panicked hysterias. One of the other things they can't explain, and this is a good question to ask them, why didn't Trump do what is it that you fear that he's going to do? And sometimes they'll tell you outright, and I've seen it in these Reddit threads, they'll tell you their crazy, unhinged, hysterical fantasies that the media, that the leftist media and the politicians have convinced them is true. And they'll say, oh, he's going to create concentration camps for gay people and black people and Muslims and women. And they say that some of them genuinely believe this insanity. And so then if you ask them that, and that's their response, I like to ask them, why didn't he do this before? He was president before. What happened during his presidency that leads you to give him that descriptive adjective of being a fascist? What did he do exactly? What specific policies can you point towards? They are usually left racking their brain. They can't point to anything. There's a great video my friend Mike Harlow just did where he went to a pride parade in Florida and he was interviewing gay people at the parade. And I don't know if you guys have seen this clip. We played it on an episode he was on, but he's asking them what's Trump going to do. And one of the gay guys says he's going to put gay people in concentration camps. He's going to take away our rights. And he's like, really? Mike's like, Trump was the first president to enter office supporting the right, the legal right for gay people to marry. The first. It wasn't Obama. It was Trump. And, this guy, and then he asked the guy, what specific policy? He's like, he's anti-gay and he does anti-gay policies. And Mike Harlow asked him, can you point to a policy? Just give me an example. And the guy's like, oh, don't do that. Don't do what? Ask for the facts and the evidence that have led you to this opinion. You don't want to look at the facts. You don't want to try and find one to support you don't want to know. You just want to exist out here in the ether with opinions that are fed to you that are based on lies and nothing. You don't want to be a grounded person based in reality who can actually defend your opinions. You don't want to form your own opinions, real opinions based on looking at facts and evidence. You just want to be fed something to say, like a slave. And that's what these people are. They're robots, they're zombies, they're slaves to the establishment, to the woke left. They say things and humiliate themselves and don't even realize they're humiliating themselves because they're so unhinged from reality. They can't point to anything. So why didn't he do this? Why didn't Trump do all this fascism before? That's a good question to ask them. See what they say. In my experience, most of the time, they're just going to react emotionally because you've now these psychological barriers with brainwashing. They have all these barriers to being able to think clearly, and a lot of that's keyed into their emotions and their ideas about their identity being wrapped up in this evil ideology. And so if you challenge them on a fact, most of the time they're going to get angry. They're like this guy did. He's not going to be able to give you a fact. He's not going to be able to back up what he said. He's going to get angry and say, why are you doing that? Why are you asking for an example? But sometimes, and these are the conversations that make it all worth it. Sometimes you will plant a seed. You will find an actual open-minded person, an actual liberal who doesn't yet realize that woke is not liberal. That's what I was. That's what a lot of my friends were who've left woke. Every once in a while, you'll find one of those people. And even if they don't react positively in the moment, you're going to plant a seed. And it might be one of many seeds that causes them to start to look for evidence and for facts later. This has happened so many times with people I know. I'll finish reading this. So he says, I did finish. So he basically, this is this fear that if Trump wins, he's going to go full fascist, whatever they think they mean by that. And then everyone's going to hate Americans and we'll all be deported from other countries and we won't be welcome there. Okay. So that's one. Let me just take a second and thank some of these super chats, and then we have some more even crazier ones to get through. Randy Wallen, thank you for the $10 support. He says, moneyed interests pay the talking heads. Yes, who in turn chum for the monsters. The internet allows for instantaneous and extremely wide reach. Voila, lunatics parroting nonsense like good little soldiers. Randy, I wish I could I'm going to pin this comment if I can. This is a great summary of what we're talking about. The elite, they pay for talking heads like Brooklyn Dad. We know he's a paid operative like Harry Sisson or whatever that idiot's name is. They're paid to put out these talking points, and then the sheep, the masses, gobble them up and spit it out, and it just keeps going in a cycle. And then soon you get people saying absolutely insane things like they are now when you hit a chaotic time. Thank you, Randy. Keto and Crime. Hey, Tracy. Thanks for the super chat for $20. Tracy says, I just read Project 2025, all 930 pages. I'm doing a breakdown of what it is and what's in it. It seems the left is losing their minds over it. It's not a manifesto, just a conservative wish list. I agree with 90% of it. Tracy, I wanted to do the same thing. I'm briefly going to talk about Project 2025 today. This is the new scare tactic that they're pumping the left full of. They're like, oh my Project 2025. I don't have time to cover today with all the other stuff I want to look at, but I can't wait to see your breakdown. And let me know if you want a guest on it or anything. I'd be happy to. Or if you're just doing a standalone thing, do your thing. I'll push it out there. I'm excited to see what you do. It's Project 2025. It's a lot of conservative foundations, think tanks got together and said, this is what we would like to see under a conservative administration. It's not associated with Trump's campaign. He has a separate plan that he wants to implement. It's called like 47 or something. These are conservatives saying, hey, this is what we want. This is what we want whoever is elected president on the Republican ticket to do. He came out, Trump, and said, yeah, this isn't mine. And he also said he disagreed with a lot of it, which I thought, it's like, dude, you're going too far. Like, set the record straight. Sure. Like, these guys are crazy. This is not my thing. Set the record straight. Sure. But then, you don't need to disavow lots of it. Like, a lot of it's great. I wish he would implement a lot of it. I'm with Tracy. 90% of it I think is good. But if you look at these forums, you're going to see Project 2025 everywhere now. And they also can't tell you what it is. They just say it's fascism. It's just a plan for policies. Thank you for that, Tracy. Randy Wallen for $5. Thank you, says fascism. Also, don't forget about the billions going to NGOs, non-governmental organizations, private orgs paid for and doing the government's bidding. Yes, these are non-governmental arms, activist arms of the government. Thank you. Mark for $5 says, press Joe Biden critique seems desperate, disingenuous move to clear their image and force Democrats into a new candidate or avatar to push their views and defeat Trump. Thank you for this super chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. And I think you're right. I think for this war that's happening right now, where they're fighting over whether or not to replace Biden. The ones who want to replace him, they definitely are. They're running this stuff because they think it's time. We need someone new. They don't think Biden can beat him. I personally, like, for the sake of the country, I don't think he should be in there. He should be removed immediately. He's not able to do his job today. He wasn't able to do it yesterday. He hasn't been able to do it for a long time. We are not safe as a nation with a head of state who's not there. So for the sake of the nation, he should be removed immediately. But for the sake of the election, which is all the left cares about, the ones that are saying they need to stick with him, we need to stick with Biden, whatever. Okay. I mean, if we're just talking about the election, that's the best possible thing for those of us based in reality, is for Trump to go up against a vegetable. Okay, keep him in there. I definitely don't want a Kamala Harris, a DEI hire. I don't want Gavin Newsom, an absolute psychopath. So yeah, it's kind of funny where they're at, where they're like, I saw Joe, what's her name? Joe from Jersey or something. She's another one of the paid operatives on Twitter. And she was saying something like, the conservatives don't like, or I think she said MAGA, whatever that means. MAGA, they don't like it if we say we're going to keep Joe on the ticket. It's like, no, actually, if we're just talking about the election, that's the best possible scenario for the outcome of the election. Andrew Joyner for £2. Thank you for the support, Andrew. He says Trump was the first pro-gay marriage president. Yes, that's what they don't even know these facts. They don't know he was the first president to go into office supporting the legality of gay marriage. Okay, let's put up another one. Again, right now, I'm just sampling from the Mark My Words forum on Reddit. This one is, when climate change hits full stride, they all believe in, this is another one of this religion, woke, it's like a religion, it's a cult. They have great faith in a few things. This is one of the things that they believe. It's really funny because the woke people who are atheists a lot of times will make fun of believers, people who believe in God, who believe in something bigger than ourselves, who believe in a creator, and they'll call him, what do they call him, Sky Daddy and all this stuff, and they try to pretend like you'd have to be dumb to have faith in a creator, when I kind of think it's the opposite. But they will say all these things, trying to belittle faith. And again, they don't even realize, some of them, how much faith they have in government, in so-called science, but not actual science. It's scientism. It's whatever the experts and the government and the elite say is science, like Fauci. I am the science. They have so much faith in the government, and because the government, the politicians and the talking heads tell them climate change is a thing, they run around acting like they're so intelligent, like they have studied climate change, like they can give you reasons and examples. They can't. But this is one of the pillars of their faith currently. It could change, but this is one now. So mark my words, it says, when climate change hits full stride, big cities will become uninhabitable due to urban heat retention. As temperatures climb higher and heat becomes more of a threat to human life, some cities will simply not cool down enough for people to live in them safely. I predict cities will become largely abandoned, lawless, and dangerous. Hey, dude, I also predict that cities are going to become largely abandoned, lawless, and dangerous, but for different reasons. I wonder if you can guess what some of those are. One is that they're very expensive. You can't afford to live there unless you're extremely wealthy or poor and homeless on the street. This is what been happening in Los Angeles forever. I used to live in LA. This is has been happening in San Francisco. This is Chicago, all of these big cities. It becomes impossible to live there in a communist, woke culture with communist government in those cities, it becomes impossible to live there unless you're a wealthy elite or homeless. And so why do you see all of these people moving from California cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles to Texas or to Florida or to Colorado or Virginia or South Carolina? Why are they moving there? Because they can't afford to live in these large cities. And all the businesses are abandoning it as well. Why? Well, there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of drug addicts shooting up on the street with policies in these leftist cities saying, hey, you know what we should do to combat homeless drug addiction? Let's give people needles. Let's help them shoot up. Let's get rid of the policies that say they can't form encampments on the sidewalk in front of businesses. Let's get rid of that. They tried that in Austin. It failed. They eventually reversed it, but they tried it for a few years. I was working at a handmade cowboy boot shop on Congress. This is a few years ago. And there was one day it got so bad. We had a homeless guy that was passed out in front of our storefront, and he also had defecated right in front of the door and was sleeping beside it. And we called the cops, and they showed up and said, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do because of the new resolution that Austin had passed. He can sleep here right in front of your storefront. Like, why do you think people are leaving leftist cities? So this is one of the pillars of their belief. Um, just to kind of bookend this, or not bookend it, but just to tag onto this, I wanted to show you this tweet from Jordan Peterson. Hold on one second. I don't know if my audio is going to work. I just got another one of those. I don't know why this keeps happening. It says that my audio may not be working. Tell me if you guys can hear this, and if not, we'll try to come back to it later. This is a tweet from Jordan Peterson that says, it turns out that 97% of the scientists don't agree at all. You know that lie that they've been pushing out there for decades where they just tell their cult, 97% of scientists agree. All the scientists agree. 97% of scientists agree. One of the big reasons I started doubting climate change and the consensus on climate change was because I saw them do this during the COVID years. We all saw them do this right in front of our eyes, where they lied and they gaslit us. The media, the politicians, the corporations, they all went out there and said, the science agrees you should take this new experimental vaccine. You can't call it experimental or we'll ban you from social media, even though that's the literal definition of what it is. It's experimental. It has not been around long enough for longitudinal studies. They do not exist yet. Even now, they do not exist. We don't know what the potential side effects are, but you need to take this. Science agrees. Science did not agree. And the scientists and doctors who said so, including Dr. Robert Malone, who created the mRNA vaccine technology, when they said so, they got banned, they got deplatformed, they got censored at the behest of government. Corporations, big social corporations, took these people down. They silenced these doctors and scientists. They censored them. That's fascism, by the way. Again, to bring it back to that, the government saying, remove this. Scientists did not agree about the COVID vax. And now, a few years later, now you have people like Chris Cuomo, who's a handmaiden for this evil communist fascist ideology. You have him saying, oh, him who made fun of ivermectin, who demonized and belittled people who were using it and doctors who were recommending it. And there were doctors who were forced out of their jobs for trying to treat their patients with ivermectin, which has been around for decades and decades and is proven safe and effective in humans for multiple uses, which has won a Nobel Prize for its use in humans. They all went on this psyop, this propaganda campaign, and told the brainwashed masses, oh, it's horse medicine. Let's make fun of these people like they're dumb. The people who actually read about it and know what it is, who know this isn't true. And they all repeated it. The talk show host, Chris Cuomo, Chris Cuomo said that he and Don Lemon on CNN said people who took ivermectin should be shamed. What? They made it hard for people to get. They cost people they cost lives. Do you understand? They made it hard. There were pharmacies who would not fulfill your prescription. Even you brought in a prescription from a doctor and they would say, "No, we're not filling that." So now Chris Cuomo's out there saying, he's taking ivermectin now. He says he has long COVID, he's taking ivermectin now. I have a whole video about him you can find on this channel. Just look for the Chris Cuomo video. And what's he saying? He's saying, "It's not my fault." He's not apologizing, by the way. He's adamant that he's not apologizing for lying to the American people and misguiding them and gaslighting them. He's not apologizing. He's basically saying it's not his fault, that it's the doctors and scientists' fault for not saying anything. They did say things, and you went along with the censorship. You went along with the fascism. So I saw them peddle these lies. I saw Fauci peddle these lies. A lot of us saw this, and that helped me to open my eyes to so-called climate change consensus amongst the scientists, which does not exist either, it turns out. I'm gonna see if you guys can't hear the sound on this, that's okay. It's a little bit a side path I'm going down, so we don't have to watch it. Just tell me though. I'm curious if the sound is working. Uh, okay. So people are saying you can't hear the sound for some reason. Okay, I'm just gonna drop this link in the chat because you should go and watch this later. It's okay. It's a sidetrack anyway. So um, I'm gonna bring us back to our topic. Let's jump back into the craziest stuff on Reddit. Here's one. This is mark my words. Everything Jon Stewart said tonight was true and should or will happen. Okay. These are the people they trust, Jon Stewart. Here's another one. Mark my words. Even if Project 2025 was fully implemented, again, there's the scare, there's their new buzzwords. Project 2025. The sky is falling. They say, even if Project 2025 was fully implemented, white Christians would still claim they are the most persecuted group in America. And then they say, I truly think for some of them, feeling like they're persecuted is like a sexual kink for them. These people are sexual perverts and degenerates. And what they're doing here is, again, projection. They are perverts. They are deviants. They do have sexual kinks that they brag about and that they say are part of their identity. We got to see a lot of that on display at Pride this year. Disgusting acts of depravity in front of children at Pride. They are sexual perverts. And so it might seem odd to you that they use this sort of attack a lot where out of the blue they'll say something, they'll make some sort of sexual accusation, and it's like, why are they doing this? Because that's what they are. They are perverts. They do have kinks. I was in this cult. I know. Trust me. Or just take a gander at any recent Pride parade. So for them, that's like a dig, you know, again, accusing you of the thing they are. But let's get to the meat of this. This is upside down world. They believe that currently in this culture that we're in right now, 2024 in America, they believe that there's no racism against white people. They actually believe that, when racism against white people has been fully acceptable for years now, not just online. Twitter 1.0, before Elon took over, you would get banned like that if you, even some people, if they just posted crime statistics, that's racist, you can't do that. But people could post the most insanely hateful ridiculous racist rage against white people, calling us what was snow roaches and saying that we are evil because we don't have melanin. Remember that Black Lives Matter leader in Canada who said that? And they could post this stuff and it was fine. They could even talk about how white people need to die. They came up with slurs for us like white people and all this stuff. All of that racist speech against white people has been fully allowed and accepted and tolerated and encouraged even for decades. But it's also in policy. It's also in policy until very recently, this past year with the Supreme Court decision that said, hey, guess what, colleges? You should not be allowed to discriminate against Asian students and white students. That's in policy. That's still in policy in most corporations, the government. It's acceptable to discriminate against people on the basis of race and sex if their race is white or Asian and if their sex is male. And aside from the policy, they also do this unofficially and they brag about it. They brag about being racist and sexist. They brag about it. Of course, they say, hey, the woke say, we're not racist and sexist. Why? Oh, because we changed the definition of racism and sexism. We say now it can only racism can only be real if it's about this race or this sex. Now that's BS. They're like, well, we just changed the definition. It's cool. No, we're not that thing. What thing is that? Discriminating against people on the basis of race? Yeah, you are. That's what you're doing. I don't care what you magic words you want to call it. That's what you're doing. You encourage that and you support that. I want to show you this because this is related. This was in the New York Times this week. You want to talk about bigotry against Christians? I mean, it's cool. You can beat up on Christians all you want online, vocally. You can use your speech all day long to say whatever you want about Christians. You can't do that about a few other religions. You can't do that about Islam, for one. You can't do that about woke. This was in the New York Times, this headline. This is a lie also. Your religious values are not American values. This is a whole anti-Catholic, anti-Christian article in the New York Times. But you know what? Actually, Christian values are American values. Just because you're trying to change and you've been somewhat successful at changing what American values are by pushing your perverted, upside down, evil, woke religion to make it the dominant religion, the most popular religion currently, that's not originally what America was founded on. Those are not the original values of America. The original values of America are freedom, individualism, free speech, the right to self-defense, liberty. The original values, the government, the federal government was supposed to be about protecting our borders and being small and not intrusive into our lives so that humans could flourish. We used to care about having a strong, healthy society. And the way you have a strong, healthy society is by having strong, healthy families. And those are Christian values, strong, healthy families. But what do we have now with woke? Look at the fruits. Look at the results of woke being the dominant religion. What do we have? We have escalating rates of suicide, depression, anxiety, domestic abuse, addiction, porn addiction. We have the women self-reporting they are unhappier now than they've ever been compared to like the 50s and 60s. Can you believe that? Women, white women in particular, who are taking a crazy amount of SSRIs and antidepressants. Why is this happening, do you think? Maybe it has something to do with your upside down values, with your woke values. I want to show you something else. Speaking of Speaking of discrimination, racist discrimination against white people and Asians, and sexist discrimination against men, there have been a spate of articles now on the left where they're all talking about how it's racist. Look at Nina Turner here. It's racist to point out that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. And they're all responding. All the Democrats, all the leftists put out their same talking points the same day. They all started calling this racist. Gavin Newsom, and they all called it racist because the New York Post ran an accurate headline that said America may soon be subjected to the country's first DEI president, Kamala Harris. So look at, this is racism, she says. No, it's not. What's racist is DEI. So I said, yes, DEI is racism. It's also sexism. And she is a DEI vice president. Biden told us he was picking someone based on gender. That is sexism. By the way, later he told us he was picking not, but let me read the first quote of his. And there were several times he said this before he picked someone. Quote, if I'm elected president, my cabinet, my administration will look like the country. And I commit that I will, in fact, pick a woman to be vice president. That's what he said during one of the debates. I'm going to pick a woman. Later, he got even more specific and said, I'm going to pick a black woman. That's both sexist and racist to do that. Congratulations, you just used DEI. You just used diversity, equity, and inclusion, where you pick someone based on race and sex rather than choosing the best candidate for the position or the job. And we talked about this at the time. I was talking about if I were her, if you were a person who was grounded in reality and truth, and you had actual self-esteem, not ego, but good self-esteem, you would be livid to be the person he announced after this kind of statement. I would not accept. I don't care who the person is. If they're like, I'm going to pick the best woman for the job, and then they choose me. How dare you? How dare you undercut my merit? How dare you expect me to jump into this position now that everybody knows I'm a DEI pick? That's why you picked me. Screw you. Individualism is the opposite of collectivism. It's not based on what identity groups you're in. It's being judged based on who you are as an individual, your character, your talents, your work, your knowledge, your behavior as an individual person. So all the way at the top, even in the office of the president, they're using racist discrimination. They're using sexist discrimination in their hiring process. And he admitted this. It's also funny, this is a side note here, that they keep pushing DEI and diversity, equity, inclusion, and they keep saying it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. We need DEI. Why? It expands. It's good. We need DEI. We need diversity, inclusion, and equity. We need this. And then when you say, oh, okay, so here's an example of someone who was a DEI hire, they're like, how dare you say that? How dare you say that anyone is ever hired because of this thing that we want them hired for? Isn't that funny? They keep saying it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. DEI is awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. They want it implemented. They want DEI. They want it used in the hiring process and college admissions. But then when you say, okay, well, here's wouldn't you think they would be like, yes, she was our first DEI vice president. And isn't it amazing? We wouldn't have had her otherwise. Like what? But they don't like it. They know it's a bad thing. So they're like, don't say that. This thing that we want to use to hire people, no one's actually ever been hired because of it. Okay. Yes, it is actually illegal. And if we didn't have a corrupt government, every corporation that's using DEI would be sued for it. If we didn't have a corrupt government, like you could not get away with this. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. I just want to we're also simulcasting on Rumble And I just want to say hi to you guys, and to Southeastern Kaju. Thank you for the chats. Thanks for being a member, and for the super chat for $2. On Rumble, they're called Rumble Rants. Sorry. Thank you for the Rumble Rant. Southeastern Kaju says, doesn't Kamala at least have to stay on the ticket for all of that donor money to Biden Harris to be used? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't thought about that before. Does anybody in the chat know? Here, let me post this in the YouTube chat also. This is the question. If anybody knows the answer to that, please let me know. Thank you for the Rumble rant. And also, Southeastern Kaju says the Democrats are stuck with cackles at the very least for this election cycle. Cackles. What a great nickname. She has cackles. I think didn't Trump, people were waiting to see what Trump's nickname for her was going to be. Is it cackles or Kamala laughs a lot or something? She does cackle like a sociopath. It's like that fake laugh. It's really creepy. Okay. Here's another bit of hysteria in the woke mind. Mark my words, the GOP will criminalize recreational sex. What? They believe this? Also, they're very concerned about it. They're like, that's the only kind of sex I have. I don't have meaningful sex. I don't have sacred sex. I just have recreational, meaningless hookups. They're very worried about that. But yeah, I'm sorry, this is so stupid. They believe so many stupid things. They believe this. Look at this, 337 upvotes. They really believe it. The Republicans are going to come in and be like, you can't have sex unless it's for procreation with your spouse. Like, what? Christians don't even believe, by the way, that it's just for procreation. It is for procreation, but it's also a beautiful gift, sex that God gave us with you and your spouse. It's a union. It's you becoming one flesh. It's enjoyable for a reason. God made it that way. They don't even know. That's the other thing. They don't even know what the people they hate actually think. They just have these caricatures of conservatives or Christians or liberals who are not woke. Like, they just have these sort of vague straw man things of like, they don't like sex that's pleasurable. It's crazy. Yes, Jennifer, it's sacred and also fun. Yes, for a reason. Thank you. I just thought that was funny out of all the crazy things they're saying. Okay, here's another one. This is another example of projection. Mark my words, they say, the amount of propaganda and disinformation from the GOP come October is going to be insane. It's the other way around, fool. It's the other way around. I don't mean this to be mean, but you are a brainwashed fool. And how easy it is for them to do this to you, to get you to accuse the other side of what your side is doing. Disinformation and propaganda. What do you think we've been living through? I just told you about how they demonized your quote unquote side, demonized treatments during the COVID years like ivermectin. They made it almost impossible to get at a pharmacy, even if you found a doctor who would prescribe it. They censored doctors. You want to talk about propaganda and disinformation? Remember when they put out the Lancet letter and they lied and they said they had no conflict of interest? They put out the Lancet letter and they lied and said that there was no way that COVID came from a lab. Oh, no, that would be crazy talk. That would be a conspiracy theory. And we don't have a conflict of interest here, although several of them did and worked with the Wuhan lab. They lied. They lied to you, and you believe all their propaganda. You believe all their crap. And then several years later, they come out, and the New York Times even, they're all saying, hey, it probably came from the lab. Now you can say that without being censored. At the time, we would get taken down off of social media. At the behest of the government, fascism, telling social media companies to censor people who questioned where it came from. You couldn't even ask. You people are such idiots. You're tools. I'm not saying you're all bad people. Some of you, I'm sure, have good hearts. I know that because I used to be in your cult. You're just, you let them turn you into fools. Propaganda and disinformation. Look at the Project 2025 thing we're talking about. Look at how they're all calling that Trump's thing, although it's not his thing. That's factual that it's not his thing. They don't care. They just lie open face, right to your face, and you guys just lap it up and then spit it back out. You just repeat what they tell you to say. He says the GOP and their wealthy corporate overlords. What are you talking about? We saw who the wealthy corporate overlords support. It's the Democrats. For the most part. We saw what they did during COVID. They benefited greatly during COVID. The corporations didn't get shut down. The small businesses did. The corporations are the ones pushing your ridiculous upside down woke ideology at the behest of the government. Their ESG scores better when they do. You are on the same side. This is I think for people who've never been in the woke cult, you don't understand this. You're like, how could they not see this? It's brainwashing. It's cult brainwashing. And there's all these psychological barriers for them that prevent them from confronting reality because it creates this anxiety and this tension inside of you and this fear because their whole identity is based around being in this cult. They think they think that they've been convinced that's what makes them a good person. And it's really hard to go through, as I did, to leave a cult and to have your whole sense of identity raised to the ground, your whole belief system raised to the ground. That's scary. Most of these people will do anything they can to prevent that, to prevent from having to go through that. They'll close their eyes to any facts you show them. These leftists, these woke people posting crazy stuff like this, they are on the side. They're on the same ideological side as McDonald's, Amazon, ESPN, all of the corporate elite, all the banks, all of them push this woke dog shit. They push your dog shit, guys. I hate to say this. You are part of the corporate elite. And you're so brainwashed you can't even see it. Big Pharma, that's you guys. They're on your woke side. They're on your authoritarian, fascist, communist side that wants to force people to take an experimental vaccine. That's who you guys are. And you're in upside down land here. The GOP and their wealthy corporate overlords is going to saturate our media outlets with lie. Really? Who owns the media outlets? Who's on? You guys are almost all of the media is leftist and woke. It's not unbiased. It's certainly not conservative. You've got one vaguely conservative outlet, Fox News. Sometimes they also speak woke. I don't watch them religiously. I tune into clips here and there. But you've got one conservative outlet. We'll give you that one. You guys you're on the same side with all the corporate media. They all push this same propaganda about the vax, about lockdowns, about Trump. They all push these lies about him saying that white nationalists are very fine people. They all push these absolutely ridiculous lies that you could go and find out on your own or fake if you just watched the source material or read the source material. If you looked at the clips yourself, if you read the transcripts yourself without being told what they said or told what to think about them. Upside down world. So the GOP and their wealthy corporate overlords, they're going to saturate the media, the leftist media guys with lies, smears, fakes, and false narratives. Wow. Sounds like something leftists do. And not only the traditional ones, they will use AI generated content and other tools to manipulate the public. And then they'll hide behind shady PACs like you guys do and professional political hitmen. What? Hitmen? Hillary Clinton. Like, sorry. You know that joke? When I was in the leftist cult, I thought that was just a crazy, crazy conspiracy theory. But then when you start looking into things later, you're like, I don't know. I don't know one way or the other, but it seems very suspicious. All the deaths around that family, it does seem suspicious. You should be allowed to notice that it seems weird or odd. And then they continue, reality will be swept away in the tsunami of BS they're about to unleash. Again, everything you're saying is a confession. Every accusation, when you're in the leftist cult, every accusation you make is a confession, just like narcissists and sociopaths. That's what they do. Every accusation is a confession. Okay, here's another one. Mark my words. The 2028 presidential election will cause major riots and protests throughout the process. This current election features two vastly unpopular candidates, both who will not be on the ballot in 2028. With how divided the country is right now, the next 4 years, no matter who wins, will likely continue to fester this division, leading to the most important election likely in our history in 2028. First of all, a couple things true. This division is going to continue to fester because the powers that be, the corporate elite, the wealthy elite, the government elite, they want it to fester. That's why they feed you this BS about left and right, about how left and right is a very important distinction. They want it to fester. That's why they feed you the propaganda. But you're wrong about this, that no matter who wins, there are going to be riots and protests. If you are reality based, you would know, as we do, that the riots, the protests only happen when you guys lose, when you guys are upset, when you guys get wound up and manipulated by your corporate and government overlords. Remember the Summer of Love, the Black Lives Matter riots and protests where you guys killed people? You killed Black business owners. You set their businesses on fire. You rioted. And your corporate media, like CNN, put up chyrons saying mostly peaceful protests with raging fires in the background. And you guys believe that. Your riots killed people. But then you get brainwashed into believing that January 6th was some kind of insurrection or violence or something. What are you talking about? Where were the weapons? Where were the fires? Where were the murders and the things that you guys do? Where were the Molotov cocktails? You think that conservatives don't have weapons? They do. Why didn't they bring them if they wanted to have an insurrection? I can't even believe that word is laughable, but you guys believe it. Like this is another one of the pillars of your faith now, that you just went hook, line, and sinker with what they told you. Most of you have never even watched the footage that they held back and did not want to release for years. And finally, they were forced to release the footage where you can see the Capitol Guards opening the doors for these crowds and ushering them in. Have you seen that footage? No. I know you haven't. I know you haven't. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying I know. You have not. Be honest. Have you seen it? No. Have you read the Twitter files yet? No? I know you haven't. Why don't you want to know things? Speaking of the the insurrection, look at this one. Mark my words, if Orange Man wins, he will require students to learn that January 6th was a peaceful protest. Look, we have projection again. Do you mean, are you accusing your enemy of future criming? Are you accusing him of doing something in the future that he hasn't done, that you have done? Holy projection, Batman. You guys declared your riots where you killed people and where you burned businesses and homes. You declared all those riots peaceful protests. Your politicians declared them peaceful protests. They said they were peaceful. They said they were necessary. Maxine Waters said you had to get out in the streets and do this. AOC said the same thing. You guys called your violent, murderous riots, your fiery riots, peaceful protests. And now what do? You did that. That's a thing that happened. And now you are projecting into the future and saying, oh, our enemy is going to do this thing that we did. It's sick. It's sick what puppets you are. So they're calling Trump a felon, and they call him Felon Melon in these forums, which is kind of funny. I give them that one. I like a good wordplay. They say, bring on the gaslighting and retconned history. Wow, that's what you guys do. Again, projection. They say, I have no doubt that the felon will rewrite how January 6th went down and alter the educational curriculum across the country to teach his version, that it was a peaceful protest against a stolen election. Hey, it was a stolen election. Am I going to get taken down from YouTube? I don't know. This will be another test. You couldn't say that for a few years. You could only say it. You could only say it when Trump won. Remember that in 2016? They all said it was a stolen election. Michael Moore said it was a stolen election. They all said you could say it then. You could say it when W won. I said it then. You could say it then. If it's a conservative who wins, if it's someone on the Republican ticket, you can say it's a stolen election. You can question it. But hey, not if a leftist wins. Then they will censor you, silence you, remove you from the public square, take down your videos, strike your channel, take down your Twitter account. That all of these things have happened to keep you idiots from looking into things, from having questions, from discovering a bit, the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, I think it was a stolen election. I think you would have to be really deluded not to trust your eyes and ears. The size of Biden's rallies, which were incredibly small compared to Trump's, um, the number of people who walked away from the left and who voted Republican for the first time in their life. People like me, I cried in 2016 when Trump won, and then I ended up voting for him. I knew several progressives and liberals who voted for him. First time they ever voted for a Republican. My first time was 2 years prior, 2018. I voted for Ted Cruz. That was my first time voting for a Republican. But I voted for Trump in 2020. And there were tons of us. And there was not a similar movement the other way. And you guys know this. And then the night of, with all the results coming in, and Trump had a huge margin, and everybody was going to bed like, oh, wow, he won again, of course. And then you wake up in the morning and it's like, surprise, we found a bunch of absentee ballot. We found an extraordinarily large amount, and they're almost all for Biden. Amazing. Isn't that amazing? And he won. That's just ridiculous. It's incredible. And they had to cheat by such a large margin that in the end, Biden's total vote tally was higher than Obama's was ever. You believe that? You believe that? All that enthusiasm for Biden. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. It is a reasonable thing to say that is ridiculous. And if the tables were turned, you would be the first person saying this is ridiculous. Your tribalism prevents you from seeing it. Your brainwashing prevents you from seeing it. This continues. Our kids will be required to learn it and write essays in support of it. You mean like they're currently required to be indoctrinated with Marxist ideology with queer theory and critical race theory and feminist theory. It they're required to write essays on it. They're required to be told not how to think, but what to think. That's what's happening. Again, you're accusing your enemy of the thing that you're doing. You're brainwashing kids. And then it goes, and Project 2025 will bring it about by defunding the Department of Education. Uh, I I hope that happens. I don't have high hopes that it will happen. Trump was already in there once. I don't know if he's going to take that bit of advice from Project 2025, but I think it should be defunded. It's 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 not within the domain of the federal government. Education should be up to kids. Why are you sending your I mean, to parents of kids? Why are you sending your kids to the government to learn how to what to think? Why would you hand them over to a government and say, "Hey, government, teach my kids"? Let's move on to another one. Here we go. Mark my words, if Donald J. Trump is kept out of the White House, MAGA will die with him. Now, this one's interesting. This person has some predictions, and I think these predictions are rooted in the fact that, like I said before, they don't actually know very much about the people they think are their enemies. They don't know very much about this whole um, collection of people. I would say a very broad collection of people who are going to vote for Trump, who have voted for him. They don't know anything about conservatives. They don't know anything about Christians. They don't know anything about actual liberals or libertarians, and they just have these caricatures. And they really they put so much of it onto Trump, like they hate Trump. For him, I mean, for them, he's very important. He's like this, their leftist media makes everything about Trump. Even the past 4 years, he hasn't been in office. They make everything about Trump. He's a good boogeyman. Like the 5 minutes of hate from 1984, he's a good boogeyman for them to all focus their hate on, right? And so what I've noticed is that they have this caricature of people who are going to vote for him or people who oppose woke, and they say things. I know this because they say it to me. They'll say stuff, they call me MAGA, and it's like, but I know what MAGA is, Make America Great Again. I generally, when I use that term, I mean the people who are like super rah-rah on the bus with the red hats, and maybe they do make an idol out of Trump a little bit. But they call all of us that. They call all of us MAGA. They don't It's just a catch-all term for them. Okay, you know what? I am becoming a little more MAGA this year. With everything you guys have been up to and everything you're trying to pull, I might end up buying one of those red hats. Like, you're gonna call me MAGA anyway. I might end up buying one of those hats. But, I was for DeSantis. A lot of my friends were for DeSantis. Mike Carlo was. Um, I didn't want Trump to run again, even though I voted for him in 2020. But I said from the beginning, I'm gonna vote for whoever the nominee is, obviously, because of the threat, because of the existential threat that the Democrats pose, putting another Marxist, communist, woke, fascist in office. No. So, of course, I'm voting for Trump. And now that they've tried this, arresting and prosecuting their political enemies thing, and they've made him a felon. Oh, that's just made me more fired up to buy. I don't have any MAGA stuff yet, but I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some. I'm with the felon, That's how I feel now about it. But they call us all they don't understand. They think that everyone who's voting for him, like, has some weird idol worship of him. I rarely until the past month and a half, I barely ever post about him. I don't know if you follow me on social media. Most of my stuff is about woke itself or pictures of my dog or my house, but I rarely ever talk about him. And you can be talking about something completely unrelated to him, and they will always bring him into it. They will always bring up Trump's name. They'll always bring him up. It's like, what does that have to do with it? What does he have to do with our discussion about this over here? Um, so this, I think, comes from that same lack of understanding of who they think their enemy is. They think that if Trump doesn't get into the White House, that what they're calling MAGA, which I guess is anyone who opposes the woke left, they think that's going to die. They're so deluded. They have no idea. It has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with him. They say it's common knowledge that Trump brings people out that will never come out otherwise, both in support and opposition. Most of his supporters are 45 plus and dogmatically loyal to him, not MAGA. I don't know. Maybe that's true. Do you think most of his supporters are loyal to just him? Actually, no, I don't think that's true. I mean, I know it's not true for me. I'm just asking you guys in chat, what do you think about the majority of people who support him? I don't think it's just a loyalist to him thing. Anyway, most of his supporters are 45 plus and dogmatically loyal to him, not MAGA, not the Republican Party. When he eventually dies without becoming a martyr, MAGA will disappear. Some supporters will look for alternatives like Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy. Others will try to nominate another Trump. Many will simply go home. The rest remaining will continue to internally split the Republican Party for years to come. I don't think that this sentiment that's growing against evil woke ideology is going anywhere. We continue to see people waking up every day. We continue to see people. We saw new people from the left coming out after Trump's conviction saying they're going to vote for him now because of it. They started donating money. His fundraising that night was through the roof. Most of them first-time donors. And that's not about him. You get that? That's about what you're doing to him. That's opposition to you guys. After that conviction, I had posted something about, I'm absolutely voting for the felon, even though I don't trust our election process and I don't trust that they're not going to just decide who they want to win. I don't trust any of our national elections, but I'm still going to vote. I'm not going to let them make me apathetic. And I'm going to vote with relish for Trump, for the felon, to give a big middle finger to the establishment. That's what that's about. It's not about him. And I had people like this person, people who were like that, who think like that, who don't understand, who were in the comments like, what do you mean you're giving a big middle finger to who? It's like, to the establishment. That's what this is about for me. It's not about him. It's about what you communists are doing to him. Here's another one. This one's about Project 2025. People are going to tell us we're catastrophizing about Project 2025. First time trying, so go easy on me. Everyone on the right is mum about Project 2025 because it's the real deal. No, you know why? Because none of us knew what it was until you guys started squawking at the sky about it. No, we had never even heard of it until like last week. Nobody has heard of it. I'm talking about the masses in general. Most people who are going to vote for Trump have never heard of this. And it's not his plan. These are independent conservative organizations who put together this wish list of what they would like to see happen in a Republican administration. He's got his own plan. I hope he listens to this one. I like most of what I read in it. But thank you for telling me about it because I didn't even know it existed. Like, you guys are the ones. You guys are the ones who put it out there. Thank you. Everyone on the right is mum about Project 2025 because it's real. No, it's because we literally had no idea this was around. All the conspiracy mongering that's been happening over the years since, quote, 9/11 was an inside job about legitimate issues has made people numb to threats of actual conspiracies. Yes, it has, but not the way you think. It's because your media, your corporate media, your elite media, your politicians, you guys, your side You have been doing conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, but you've been making it truth. You've been saying it's true. You guys put out this whole crazy conspiracy theory about where COVID came from. On a wet market and it jumped species and like you guys did that. You put out some crazy, insane story about where it came from, and then you squashed and censored all people who had questions and all scientists who questioned the origins. And now, years later, now that you've brainwashed your following enough that they don't care anymore, now you come out in the media like New York Times and say, "Oh yeah, it was probably from the lab." You guys put out those conspiracy theories. You guys falsely demonized ivermectin and made it hard to get. You guys censored and deplatformed any scientist who was critical of COVID policy. You did that. You guys censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. We have you dead to rights in the Twitter files, the proof. This big corporation was meeting with the Biden administration, with government, with three-letter agencies who was directing them on what to censor, what to keep from the American people. That's fascism. You guys did that. And this is why people are now open to all kinds of conspiracy theories, because they've seen that you lie about everything. And so they have to go back, like I do, and reevaluate everything that they thought they knew, because you can't be trusted. You can be trusted to just lie and lie and lie and lie. Continues, this has been a long con and it bookends the Patriot Act. Yeah, this may surprise you because you don't know a lot about us yet again. Most of us, at least the people I know, think the Patriot Act was awful. It was another overreach of the government. It was putting the government above individual liberty, allowing the government to spy on us, to look in our bank accounts. They used a crisis to do that. The right did that one, the Patriot Act. They used 9/11 to get more government control, more government intrusion into our private lives, to spy on us, to create a bigger deep state. They used the crisis of 9/11 to get the Patriot Act. The right did that. But the left used the crisis of COVID to shut down small businesses, to mask kids, to shut down schools, to force an experimental vaccine on people, and for mass censorship. The government telling social media companies to censor people. You used COVID for that. And you think they're done? That was a template. That was a roadmap for what they're going to do next time. They wanted to see how many people would comply with it. With your stupid 6 feet tape that's still up in all these stores and your dumb mask that, sorry, I have a little bit of contempt for the people who just unquestioningly, and even now, especially the ones who even now, they still are wearing it and stuff. It's like, thanks for showing us visually who is probably mentally ill. Sorry, it was a little spicy there, but that's really that's what I think of a lot of those people. Mark my words, if 45 doesn't win this November, there may be another coup attempt. Again, projection. You guys were successful with your coup. That's my opinion. You were successful with it. You did it through the mail-in ballots. Speaking of coup attempts, I mean, you guys are the ones running around right now talking about how Biden should assassinate Trump and should assassinate the Supreme Court. And who knows what's going to happen if Trump is allowed to win. We know that you guys are going to riot and you're going to be setting things on fire and killing people. What else are you going to do? If an election box coup doesn't work, are you going to do a violent coup? Could it be that The Handmaid's Tale is really about you guys? Margaret Atwood's one of my favorite authors. And that book remains one of my favorite books, and I know none of you have read it, but you run around in the handmade costumes. Mark my words, if the MAGA movement succeeds in gaining power in 2025, I'm not sure they will successfully end democracy in the United States, but I am certain they will try. This is another one of their buzzwords. James Lindsay's doing a lot of great work pointing this out. They're all doing these talking points right now, and one of the big ones they're doing is talking about our democracy, Trump wants to end democracy. He's going to end democracy. He wants to end democracy. First of all, we're a democratic republic. They don't even know that. They don't even know what that means, what that distinction means. They have no idea. But secondly, the thing that they're afraid of happening yet again is the very thing that they are doing. AOC and all these other politicians on the left are now calling to expand the Supreme Court. They want to change the Constitution. They want to change the way the president's elected. They want to get rid of the Electoral College. When things don't go their way, they are more than happy to make their guy a dictator and to eliminate individual rights and to do away with our founding documents. Like, they're more than happy to do this. They don't care about what the founders intended. They don't care about the Constitution. Let me show you this, for example. This is just one example. George Takei. George Takei, who's always good for a crazy take, a crazy hysterical take, and a projection. Always good. This is a little meme I tried to make. And it says, leftists and narcissists always accuse you of what they're doing. And it's two of his tweets I pulled. Pretty easy. This is one from July 4th where he said, Trump will take a Sharpie to the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. Remember that. Remember that. He will destroy our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence. Really? Sounds kind of crazy and hysterical. What has he done that makes you think he's going to do that? They don't know. And then I found this old tweet of his from 4 years ago where George Takei says, we need to take a Sharpie of the Constitution. Wait, Trump's going to take a Sharpie of the Constitution. Remember that. Then he goes, this is old one. We need to amend the Constitution to turn power over to the incoming president far sooner. He tweeted that December 19th of 2020 because he wanted Biden to get that power sooner. Let's change it. Let's take a Sharpie of the Constitution. So that guy gets in there right now, my guy. Gosh, holy projection, Batman. It's almost like you are yet again taking something that you have done, that you're on record doing, which is to support taking a Sharpie of the Constitution, taking something you've done, and then you're projecting it into the future and saying the person you think of as an enemy is going to do that thing that you did. Future crimes, right? They're going to do that thing. Just trust me. That thing that I did. Like, okay, this is one that I shared on Twitter. Now, this was from a different forum. No, this was also from Mark My Words. And this one got deleted. I wonder if it was a really clever troll. Like, I wonder if it was a based person because they use the word republic, and usually the leftists don't use that word. But this was so funny. They said, Mark my words, if the GOP wins in November, you will see a mass exodus of the wealthy elite to other countries. And then they continued, artists, singers, musicians, actors, etc. will leave this country in droves. Anyone who came out against Trump and can afford to will leave. Very few will stay and fight for our republic. This is really funny if it was a troll. But because I saw this and immediately laughed. And I think it might be a troll because the immediate response from someone like me, of course, is like, hey, stop selling me on Trump. I'm already voting for him. Like, this is like not a bad thing that you're saying. It's kind of funny. And then this is another one. This one I took from a different forum. This is from the Kansas forum. And again, this is how brainwashed they are. Woke has made them stupid. That's what I said about it. This is how stupid they are. This is how stupid public schools have made them. This is how stupid the media has made them. This is how stupid the Democrats have made them. And this one says she's a nurse. Imagine your life in the hands of someone who's this divorced from reality. And this is a very popular sentiment all over Reddit right now. This is crazy. She says, if Trump wins, he could legally mandate that all registered Democrats be killed. What? What? What are you talking about? You're crazy. You probably drive around in your car with a mask on today, to this day. You should not be allowed to be a nurse. You should not be allowed to have people's life in your hands. You belong in observation. There's something mentally wrong with you. That's not hyperbole. There's something wrong with you. But the thing is, this is so common now, like I said at the beginning. This insanity has become common. And the media did this. The corporations did this. The politicians did this. They did this to the left. They made them crazy. They made being crazy common. If Trump wins, he could legally mandate that all registered Democrats be killed because of immunity. Oh my God, you're so stupid. And you guys are okay with that, she says? You're really going to take the chance that he wouldn't take it that far? I'm so devastated how far Kansas has lost the plot on this one. You really think Trump will not use the power of immunity for pure evil? Again, talk about projection. Biden could have him killed if he wanted to right now. That's also insane. You're crazy if you think that. They were all saying this. They were all saying Biden could and should do this. They believed that that was something he could do, and they also believed it was something he should do, assassinate Trump. They believed that. Mentally divorced from reality. These people belong in a psych ward. And it's scary how many of them there are. How common this has become. They've made people mentally ill. She says Biden could have him killed if he wanted to right now. Oh my gosh. But he won't because Democrats aren't Nazis. Yeah, you are. You are. You're fascists. You're communists. You're cool with the government giving marching orders to corporations. You're fascists to restrict liberty. You're fascists. She says, this isn't a football team. You're right. It's not. Again, take your own advice. Again, projection. You treat it like it's one. Stop voting Republican unless you stand behind the possibility that his rivals could be killed. Stop voting Republican unless you agree with this crazy thing that you don't agree with and that can't happen. Before it's too damn late, sincerely, a 30-year-old hospice nurse. OMG. How do you think she treats her hospice patients, her elderly patients, if she finds out that they're Trump supporters? That's one scary thing to contemplate. She thinks they're Nazis. Her life's in her hands. Crazy person. Here's another one. Mark my words. Next year, there are going to be food riots and televised executions. Oh my gosh. Televised executions. They think Trump's going to be executing people on TV. These people are insane. But it's sad because their media made them this way. They've been totally conned. They're in a cult. It's like you can laugh at it and you can say, this is crazy, like we're doing, but it's also really sad. It's all of those things at once. It's just, ugh. So then here's the thing. Are there going to be food riots? There might be because of Democrat policies. There might be. I think they're coming. I don't know if they're coming as soon as next year, but they're coming no matter who wins, even if Trump wins. You guys have run the economy into the ground. There are going to be food riots at some point. Yes. Why do you think a lot of us, again, you don't know anything about us, but why do you think a lot of us are learning how to grow own food? A lot of people I know have chickens and goats and they're homesteading and they're learning to get off the grid. You guys aren't doing this. You never do. You're always late. You're late to everything because you're being lied to and you believe it. You're late to everything. I know exactly who you people are. You're the same people who thought Bitcoin was gonna bust at $5,000, by the way. You're also that there's also in the Venn diagram of things you've been wrong about, that's something else you're wrong about. You don't know what's going on in the world. You think they're gonna be food riots, but you also think they're gonna be televised executions. You lost the plot with that second part there. But if it happens at some point in the next 10 to 15 years, you know who's gonna be doing the executing, don't you? It's you guys. Same people who are calling for it right now. I've got one more. There are a couple video clips I wanted to show you, but since my sound isn't working, we've already gone 2 hours anyway, so I'm gonna save them for the next episode. Um, some really great ones. We're gonna talk about communism and fascism and woke in the next episode. But I wanted to just end with this. This is a headline from the Post Millennial. They do great work. You should be following them if you're not. Uh, Kamala Harris, this is the headline. Kamala Harris claims that Trump will, quote, weaponize the Justice Department against his political enemies. Again, projection. You are accusing your enemy, your perceived enemy, of future crime. You're accusing them of they're going to do something in the future that I did. That's what you're doing. That's what they're doing. Just like a narcissist. They did weaponize the Justice Department against their political enemies. They did, and they got 34 convictions for it. If you don't know what that conviction was about, I have a video up. You can go and watch it. It's I got to sit down with Sean from Potentially Criminal, a lawyer who walked us through all of the accusations, the counts, the conviction, and you should definitely watch that one because he summarized it for you and for people on the left. Go watch it. You don't know what it was about. I know you don't. But that's what they've done. They've weaponized the Justice Department to go after their political enemies. And now what are they doing? Accusing their perceived enemy of future criming, of future doing in the future what they've already done. Yet again, narcissists, psychopaths, leftists, but I repeat myself. I want to end on a great summary. This is from Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider, very funny guy and also very awake guy, very based. And he summed it up well. So I think this is a good thing to end on because it's a good summary. He says, be careful of political parties that warn of a threat to democracy while they themselves arrest their political opponents, work with tech companies to censor those that disagree with them, allow men and women's sports and bathrooms, encourage child mutilation surgeries, fire federal workers and nurses for not getting experimental gene therapies, threaten to expand the Supreme Court and eliminate the Electoral College, cause rampant inflation, increase the cost of groceries by 26%, allow 11 million people to illegally cross the border, and push the entire world close to World War III. It's a great summary. I'm going to answer a couple of these. I'm going to do a couple of tips on how to talk to people and then and read a couple of these super chats and we're going to wrap it up. Randy Wallen for $5. Thank you for the support. Randy says Barry Goldwater, to Ronald Reagan, to Patrick Buchanan, to Ross Perot, to the Tea Party, to Trump. Been around for a while and I will remain into the future. Oh, this is regarding like MAGA's going to die. It's all about Trump. It's just about Trump. If he goes away, they all worship Trump and they're not going to have any of these opinions. Are you crazy? It's not about him. It's not about him. Thank you for that, Randy. And to Super Based, you guys give it up for Super Base, who's our Deprogrammed membership fairy, supports the channel by giving out free memberships to people. Thank you for your contribution, Super Base, and for those people that you gave your membership to. I appreciate it. Southeastern Kaiju. Oh, hey, you came over here. Nice hat, Keri. Thank you. This was my uncle's hat. When he passed away, my aunt gave me 2 of his hats, and so this one has sentimental meaning for me, but also this is the hat for summer, man, and it fits me. I have a big head. I have like a man-sized head. So, or maybe the men in my family are pretty small. Um, well, that doesn't make sense though. He was my uncle by marriage. Anyway, I have a man-sized head, and this is the best one for summer. You want to wear your straw hat because you have more ventilation there. It doesn't keep your head sweaty, and you can still keep the sun off your face when you're outside. Carrie's big brain. That's a nice way of putting it, John. That's a nice way. Instead of big head, Carrie. Raphael says now's the time to start saving toilet paper. Don't get caught short. It's a good tip. Huge brain. Cool. I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay. A couple of tips for how to talk to people. I have an article. It used to be on my Medium, but now it's on my Substack, and you can find my Substack at Keri Smith. I think it's kerismith.substack.com. And there's an article that I wrote when I first started leaving the woke. And that's when I was very concerned with, I wasn't fully out of the cult yet. Hold on, let me just make sure I have this link right if I'm going to tell you about it. Yeah, it's kerismith.substack.com. And you can find this old article, one of the, I think it might have been even the first one I wrote, the first essay I wrote when I was trying to leave the woke cult. And it was like how to, like 7 ways or something to talk, to tips for talking to people who disagree with you. And at that time I was very concerned with talking, bringing sides together, bringing people together to talk. Because I felt like I was so idealistic at the time. I was so idealistic. I thought if I just explain this the right way, you know, I wrote my essay about leaving the woke cult. Jordan Peterson shared it. That was amazing. But the people I was really writing it for were the people who were in my woke cult. I was trying to explain why I left. That one's called On Leaving the SJW Cult and Finding Myself. And I really thought, I was so idealistic and naive. I thought if I explained it in a very easy to understand way, that it would help a lot of my friends understand why I was leaving the ideology and what was wrong with the ideology. And it's so funny to think back on that now, where I thought I could just write one essay and it'd be like, we did it. We did it. We fixed it. Everybody's good. Like, it's so funny. I thought all my friends would be like, oh, I think I get it now. No, they did not say that. I was, you know, unfriended, the great unfriending. I was called all kinds of names by my former friends, allies. The woke don't have friends, they have allies. Several of them were cultural commentators, or they worked in the media, and they called me all kinds of names on Twitter and stuff. You know, you know the words they're going to call you, fascist, all this stuff. And so all of that happened. But I still thought, I was like, okay, I just need to keep focusing on having these conversations and trying to explain it to them. And I'm still doing that to this day. That's the whole purpose of Deprogrammed and these podcasts that I do, is to try to help people leave the cult of woke. And I will say this, because I don't want to demoralize you. I want to encourage you. It does work. There's tons of people who are in the chats, who are in the community, who have left. There are people who started hate watching my channel and now are some of my best friends. One who came to my wedding. Like, there are people who left. It does happen. It's just, as far as I can tell, it's like a one-on-one basis. Like, what's that quote that says, is it Douglas Murray or somebody said, like, people go mad in herds, but they wake up one by one. And that's kind of what I think it is. In my experience, it's like one person here or there. Like, you plant these little seeds, and then maybe they have other seeds planted for them by other people, and then one day that grows. And so you plant these seeds, and you don't know if it's going to grow or not down the road, but you just plant it anyway. And sometimes it does. And that's what keeps me doing this, is to see people wake up and leave it. But at the beginning, I thought, okay, we're just going to have lots of conversations, and so we have to get better at talking to people who are in the woke left. And so I came up with this list, and it may help you if you're talking to the woke. Again, I was a bit more idealistic then. I don't have as much tolerance as I used to for some people, the people who engage in bad faith. What I generally do is, if you're in a conversation with someone, oh gosh, especially if it's online. Okay, if a lot of times the woke people will come at you with derision and contempt, and sometimes even lies and false allegations about you and your beliefs out of the gate. So they approach you in bad faith. They come at you in a rude way. They will ask you loaded questions. An example of a loaded question. A loaded question is a question that has a false premise baked into it. And the example that's often given when you talk about fallacies, logical fallacies, is, when did you stop beating your wife? Now, if you answered that question, you've just accepted the premise of the question, the lie that's baked in there, that you ever did beat your wife, right? You can't answer that question because there's a lie baked into the question itself. And so they will oftentimes come at you with loaded questions, and they'll say things like, when did you start supporting fascists? And it's like, I don't support like, they start off with that false, bad faith premise. My advice is, you have to deal with these people on a case-by-case basis. If it's someone that I know in real life, I will often, and if I get a good sense for them that they might be able to be swayed if I treat them well, I will not respond in kind. I will not dismiss them, even if they insult me and attack me like that out of the gate, even if they're rude out of the gate. Usually I'll give them a few chances. I will respond as if I didn't notice the insult, the attempted insult, and just ignore it. Because they want to escalate you to up here to this level of rudeness they're at. And if you go up there, then they're going to ratchet up and you're going to keep going rude. And so if they're rude out the gate, usually I'll be kind of down here. Like, I'll try and answer their question without any emotion and without taking insult and without even acknowledging that there was an insult. And sometimes, it's rare, but if you practice this, you will, when the first time this works for you, you'll be amazed. Because sometimes if you keep doing that, I'll give them 2 or 3 times. I'll answer them without acknowledging the insult, matter-of-factly, right? And then they'll come back with more rudeness, and then I'll do it again and more rudeness. And sometimes you can change the way that they treat you based on how you treat them. That really does work sometimes, but it's rare. I'm not pretending like this works all the time. Most of the time it doesn't. Sometimes it works, and that's amazing. And you're like, Eureka! Because they take it down a notch. Because you did not repay their unkindness with unkindness. That's rare. I've gotten better, I think, at being able to notice the red flags and who is going, the kind of people for whom that's never going to work. And those are the people I have less patience for. And I don't know how to, especially if I don't know them. Also, if they're just some stranger online and they come out the gate with rudeness or false allegations, I'm much more likely these days to be like, take care, and then just leave the conversation or block them, because I don't have time for it. And a lot of that is just, it's a waste of time. They're not there to actually listen to you. They're not coming to you with humility. If you really want to have a conversation, you can tell the liars, because they'll come at you with malice. They'll come at you with aggression. They'll come at you with veiled aggression, which is even worse. I would just prefer the outright aggression. I hate the veiled passive aggressive loaded question stuff. They'll come at you in that way. They'll insult you in the question itself. And then if you say, sorry, no, this doesn't work on me, or if at some point, maybe you give them 2 or 3 times and they continue to do that, and finally, that happens with me. I'll give them 2 or 3 times, and then I'll say, you know what? Done. Here's what you've been doing this whole time. Here's what I haven't acknowledged or called out this whole time, is your passive aggression, your loaded questions, your insults, your straw man, like putting words in my mouth that I haven't spoken, and opinions in my heart and my head that I don't hold. I'll call them out for it and say, I'm not doing this. And then often they'll pivot and say, I just wanted to have a conversation. BS. BS. When you want to have a conversation, you have humility. You come in with genuine curiosity, not with aggression, not with insults, not with swipes at someone. You come in saying, wow, I don't understand how you got to this opinion. To me, it seems crazy. You can even say that. To me, it seems crazy. Can you explain it to me? Like, can you explain? That's genuine curiosity. And to have a really good conversation, usually both people need to have it. You need to have it too. You need to have it too when you're talking to them. If they don't have that curiosity, it's like, no, I'm just ending this because it's a waste of time. But if they have it, here's the thing I'll caution you against. Don't get into this habit of just assuming that they're all in bad faith, that every single person's in bad faith and it's always going to go bad. Don't do that. Don't look for offense when there's none there, because you will cut off your ability to actually reach some of these people. So, my rule of thumb is I try to engage in good faith until or unless they give me a reason not to. And even then, I still sometimes continue to engage in good faith 2 or 3 times before I cut them off, just to see if they change the way they talk towards me. And those times when they do change the way they interact, those are amazing, because then you can actually start to talk to each other without all that hatefulness and aggression. Elsa Barrett, thank you for the super chat. Thanks so much for the generous chat. Says, my favorite is, do you support Black Lives Matter? No. Why do you think Black lives don't matter? Yes, exactly. That's such a loaded question. That's ridiculous. Do you support Black Lives Matter? No, I don't. Why? Because it's a Marxist organization that explicitly says they want to bring about the destruction of the nuclear family. And it has nothing to do with supporting Black lives. It has nothing to do with supporting Black people. In fact, the Black Lives Matter riots ended up destroying Black businesses and killing Black people. But that founder sure made her millions, right? Got some mansions out of it. Okay. Candor has a good verse here from Proverbs. A soft answer turns away wrath. It can. It has for me, but not always. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. But I try. You got to keep trying for for when it does work, like a magic key that opens. You got to keep trying, because it can work with the person who's open-minded and open-hearted. The other thing is, when you're talking to them, if you do get one of these people who seems to be open-minded enough to have a real conversation with you, and they really are curious and want to know, you also, like I said, it's got to be reciprocal. Hopefully you are genuinely curious about how they came to believe these things. And even if you are pretty sure because a lot of it's the same, the way people fell into this, there can be little parts of their story that you can cultivate your curiosity about. Like, you can ask them questions. You might not even know something about them that you are going to be curious about. Like, maybe they just picked up woke recently. Maybe they picked it up in their mom's group or something. That's interesting. It's almost like doing your own little survey when you talk to people. Ask them real questions. Show them genuine curiosity, because you want them to have genuine curiosity for you. And if you get one of these people who's open-minded, don't lecture them, because then you'll get a lecture back. What's that? You treat people how you want to be treated. If you want them to listen and to have curiosity, you have to listen and have curiosity also. This sounds like common sense, but it's not that common anymore. and it's hard to do. Michael Coyer for $4.99, thank you for the super chat, says, I finally caught one live. Yay! It's because we're doing it on Tuesday instead of a Monday, maybe. Thank you guys for being here on a Tuesday. Okay, it seems like most people are having to bow out, and I got to go too. I've got a lot of work to finish today. I am going to be putting up, as I said at the beginning, the full interview with Drew Outstanding is going to be on Rumble tomorrow at 1:00 Central. I'm also going to try re-uploading it to YouTube, and fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. But it's definitely going to be on Rumble. And then we're not doing our Christian panel tomorrow night because I have something to do with my church. But we are doing it the following Wednesday. We're doing the Christian panel on the 17th at 6:00. And we're going to be discussing the movie Sound of Hope. So if you want a fun family night or date night, you can go see that movie. It's in theaters now. It's from Angel Studios, and I've heard it's good. We'll see. And then book club is the very next day. We're reading the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. We're going to be talking about it on July 18th, a Thursday, 6 o'clock. If you want to be in that book club discussion, email me at deprogrammedpod@gmail.com, and we'll get you a link to that private video discussion. You guys have a great day. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. We should make it a month. They make everything a month. We should make it a Independence Month instead of an Independence Day. Take care, you guys. I'll see you. Let's see. I'll see you not Wednesday because that's a pre-recorded interview with Drew. I think I'll see you on Friday at 1 o'clock Central. Okay. Take care. Bye.